I'm joined by climate justice activist Professor Vishwas Satkar and environmental justice activist Natalie Kapsosideros. Have I got that right? I have not butchered that. Welcome, the two of you, and thanks so much. Now, you were both part of a demonstration today. I want to start with Natalie because this affects you. You're speaking for your generation. You're speaking for your friends, your cousins, whoever it might be. What are your concerns?
So my concerns are that essentially I'm not going to have a future, or my generation isn't going to have a future. This isn't something that's going to affect us 30 or 40 years down the line. It's happening right now. The temperatures are rising right now. The effects are happening right now. The cyclone that just recently happened in Mozambique, that's just the first of what's going to be a long list of natural disasters, and it's going to become the norm. The facts are that we're not going to be able to carry about our day-to-day lives or have the future that we were promised because of what companies are doing now, and that's simply not fair and it's not just.
Prof, help us understand the inaction over this. I mean, as adults, we're the grown-ups. When I say grown-ups, I'm talking about government and industry and whoever it is, even us ordinary, parents. Are we taking this seriously enough? Are we doing? I mean, we often tend to think that, this has got to do with, just basically getting those polluters to stop doing what they're doing. But it's much more than that, isn't it?
Yes, it is a complex problem. But I just want to start by saying that South Africa should be proud of children and young people like Natalie and others that took to the street today and across the world. Basically, we've known about the climate problem for quite a few decades. Actually, Shell knew about this in the 70s. It became a global scientific problem in the early 90s, and the UN basically rose to this challenge. And we've put together the best scientists, the best science over these decades to really help us think through this problem. But the problem around implementation lies at various levels. It lies at the level of the powerful fossil fuel interests that have been shaping this whole process. And basically, we've been prolonging the life of fossil fuel despite the science telling us it's urgent and we have to act. South Africa is a good example of that. We have very powerful fossil fuel interests in South Africa, Sasol being one of them, Eskom being the other. The other issue, of course, is that the solutions that have been coming to the fore, and they have been on the global agenda and they have been on the national agenda, are really not viable solutions. These are not solutions that could effectively and immediately help us make this big transition. There's socially owned renewable energy, there's mass energy, clean energy public transport systems, climate jobs, food sovereignty, etc., etc. These are not the solutions that are being championed at the center of politics today. But I think the last thing is that we haven't, if you like, shifted public discourse sufficiently. So the young people are basically letting us know this is a life and death issue. And the science is standing with them and confirming their claims, their demands, and so on. And I think as long as we don't, if you like, shift the balance of opinion in our societies, we're not going to move on this issue.
So, Natalie, this was just a start, I'm assuming, for yourself and others like you who are part of this. What next for you? How do you plan to shift the discourse, as the Prof says? How do you plan to get that message across? Because, I mean, you're the ones who are going to be left with this planet. And like we said, there is no planet B. Where do you go?
So first, I think what we need to do is we need to make sure that people actually understand what climate change is about. Because there's, first of all, climate change isn't part of the syllabus in the government syllabus, right? So that's a problem. The government isn't educating the children about their future. People don't know that their future is in danger. Secondly, people need to understand that this climate issue isn't just about the polar ice caps melting or polar bears. It's about us. It's about our future. It's an economic issue. It's about how we're going to deal with the consequences of our natural environment deteriorating. So we need to make sure that people understand where the issue actually lies. And I think government needs to put in place, inside the syllabus, an educational section around climate change.
And Prof, I mean, just from reading all about this today as well, it's just been that, this becomes a moral issue, that we're not looking at the moral issue of this. We were looking at profits, we're looking at what it means in terms of, what was the term I came across, a technocratic problem. It's a moral issue which has been presented as a technocratic problem. So is it that governments and industry know? They know what they need to do, and that profits far outweigh, doing the moral and the right thing?
So today at Wits University, one of our leading climate scientists basically helped us understand at a press conference a scientific paper going into the UN process in New York. And this paper is very, very clear. about the dangers of us overshooting 1.5 degrees. It's there. It's set out very clearly. Now, this informs our government, it informs the business community and policymakers across the world. The science actually has a very, very powerful set of insights, but also a critique of the choices and the choices that people are not making right now. So the argument that people don't know, they don't have information, falls flat. But at the same time, the climate problem is at one level a moral problem, but at another level, it is also a political economy problem. And that means it has a history, a 150-year history of the rich industrialized countries being at the center of this problem. It is also a problem that's going to hit the poorer countries and the poorer in other societies, even in the global north, the hardest. And that is where climate justice politics becomes very, very important. Because we do have to make dramatic, large-scale changes. And in that process, the poor, the workers of our societies should not be paying the price.
Natalie, a last word from you. Being so active in this, you are active. I know that you've done a lot of stuff when it comes to the environment. You're very active in that, and being part of the marches, being part of the Girl Guides and the Enviro clubs and all of that. So today is one day. What happens after this? What do you encourage yourself, people your age, and people my age, and the Prof's age? What do we need to do? What would you like us to do?
First of all, I think we all need to take it in our own capacity to educate ourselves about the issue, to educate yourselves about who it actually affects and how it affects us. Because as the professor said, it's going to hit the impoverished the hardest. It's a neocolonialism issue. It's an economic issue. We're trying to break away from these systems that have been in existence for so long. So first, I think what people need to do, as I've said, is do research around what climate change actually means, because it's a very dangerous time period we're in right now. If people continue to act ignorantly, and if people continue to prevent the policies from being put in place, we're going to have serious, serious consequences in the near future. I think the next step forward is, of course, to continue putting that pressure on government. You can say, we're here, we care about our future, we don't respect the fact that you're pushing our future aside to make profits.
Call out the culprits.
And call out the culprits, exactly.
Prof, Natalie, thank you very much. I wish you all the luck, and thank you for your efforts as well.